Hey dudes, welcome back to the mothership. I wanted to do a video here since I've got it on the Honda Rebel 500. This is a 2018, I believe. This is actually my brother's bike. So since I'm out here visiting him and I have access to it, I wanted to put something out for you guys to hopefully give me my opinion on it and hopefully provide some value to you dudes. So the first thing you can tell is it's not completely stock. He's done some stuff to it. He's put the windshield on it. He bought a new seat. I don't think it's come yet, so he hasn't put that on yet. He's changed the exhaust. He's got two Brothers slip-ons. They sound a hell of a lot better. That was one of his initial complaints, was just the bike didn't sound like a motorcycle. It sounded like, in his words, a scooter. But his new exhaust sounds fantastic. It's pretty cool. Usually, when people are looking to buy their first bike, this is a top contender. And the reason for that is, most people have just taken their class and they're on like a 300 or 250, and they're not prepared to go to something super heavy and super fast, super expensive. And this bike fits in that category. It's a step up from the starter bikes. As far as performance, this thing weighs, to me, this weighs nothing. After riding my Harley for so long, and which is I think over 100 pounds heavier, this is just so nimble. Which it has an appeal to that. Even as a more experienced rider, just being able to whip around like this thing weighs nothing. It's so nimble, which is pretty cool. For a new rider, that might be exactly what you're looking for. It's probably a little more forgiving. If you come up to a stop and you're not perfectly squared, which you have to be squared to come to a stop or you're going to start to fall, this bike weighs enough that you could probably manhandle it yourself and be just fine. So it is a forgiving bike from that respect. What's not forgiving is if you're coming to a stop on a hill, right, and the friction zone isn't enough to get you out of that stop, you're gonna have to hit the throttle. And as a new rider, coming off your shifter while throttling could be a little tough. I'm sure you get used to it. One thing I don't like, because I've been spoiled, is the way every single bike does their indicators. It's crazy. Come on guys, do what Harley does. But it's so light, man. This is fun. It's cheaper, it's lighter, it's fun. As far as power, it has less power. I mean, it's gonna have less power, but it's less of a bike. It's a smaller bike. It's a lighter bike, but it's definitely an awesome introductory motorcycle. And if you're not interested in going a million miles an hour and tooling around the highway and you just want something fun, it's actually just a great motorcycle. I wouldn't hesitate to get something like this if I wanted let's say you have like a touring bike, a big bike that you ride around on big trips on the highway, and you want some fun to just screw around, go to the store. This isn't a bad choice either. I mean, there's a reason why these are some of the most popular bikes out there. They're light and nimble. What more can you say? Would I recommend this to a new rider? Absolutely. Would I recommend it over an Iron 883? Well, the only concern that I would have, yes, I would recommend it. The only concern I would have is you might grow out of the bike like this. If you plan on, doing a lot of riding, going fast and going crazy and really growing into a bigger bike, I feel like that plateau is going to be hit faster on a bike like this versus my bike. That being said, it is a great bike. I really wouldn't hesitate to recommend this or that to a new rider. Also, as a new rider, you're probably not looking to spend a ton of money because, well, let's talk about something. If you're a brand new rider and you say, I have $7,000 to buy a bike or $6,000 to buy a bike, you don't have $6,000 to buy a bike. You have about $5,000 to buy a bike and $1,000 worth of equipment that you're going to need to buy. So getting into a cheaper bike means getting into this bike versus that means you can get a newer bike, less miles, and be able to buy your gear versus buying a Harley, which is going to cost you more because it's a Harley. So that's worth thinking about too. Reliability, I have no doubts that a Honda is extremely reliable. This thing, I think the new models actually come with LEDs, which is actually kind of nice. This one does not. But features this bike versus the 883, which is usually kind of the question point, should you get an 883 or a 500? This has 6 gear, which is great. So if you're, oh look at that, a sidecar, cool. So if you're going, on the highway or going fast, you do have that extra gear, which is kind of cool. You don't have that on the Evo engine like my 883 up there. It's a Honda, so it has your funky indicators, which I don't particularly care for, but you know, most bikes use that, so that's not really a point of contention. You've got a gas gauge, which is cool. You don't have that on my bike. It's not a Harley. It doesn't sound like a Harley. It doesn't really ride like a Harley, but it rides like a motorcycle, which is, you know, for a first-time rider, it's awesome. And for someone who has like a touring bike and they're looking for something nimble to go around town, this is not a bad choice. The tank is small, just like the Iron, so you're going to be filling up a lot. But on the whole, I recommend it. I would 100% support anyone getting this bike or the 883. My only thought is, you know, you're probably going to want to upgrade this faster than you would the 883, just because it has less power, less horsepower, less torque than, actually I think the horsepower is about the same, but less torque than the Iron 883. So those are my thoughts, guys. If you got something out of this, if you enjoyed this, if you want more content like this, leave a comment. If you like this kind of stuff, a subscription would be fantastic. You know, a like's cool too, but awesome, dudes. Ride safe.